In the spirit of cooperation.
In the spirit of
So, this is my wife, Malia Weinhagen, and we...
It's your life who?
My wife, Malia Weinhagen.
Thank you.
Right. And we're very much partners. We cooperate in as many ways as we can, which means we say no to each other all the time.
No comment at the moment.
There's a reason I'm a big fan of cooperation. So Malia has spent her life helping women become mothers. Right? So she's a doula, she's a birthing assistant, she's a birthing coach, she's a health coach that helps women transition to get ready for motherhood if they've never been, they're new moms, and then transition into the stresses of motherhood itself. Right? So she's got, 20 years experience doing?
25.
25 years experience doing that in that field.
She was like 20, we didn't believe you were younger.
She's an expert on motherhood, right? So I've asked her to talk to our group today in the family section about what it means to be a mother, right? So I'm going to pass the mic to her. She's going to teach us.
Isn't that summarized as a hell of a lot of work for thankless outcome? Isn't that?
It's a hell of a lot of opportunities for cooperation.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
Not always good at it.
No.
A lot of opportunities.
There's a lot of countless opportunities on all sides of the aisle, child and parent. Okay. Are we good? Can you guys hear me? Okay. So I want to start out, it seems like it's a really far stretch, but I think that talking about family is so important to this work. So I have been a certified doula, which is a labor and delivery coach through the organization called DONA, and I have assisted home births, hospital births, birthing center births, all sorts. I'm also a licensed massage therapist. I'm a craniosacral practitioner. I am a certified health coach. I am currently working on other modalities related to flower essences and a whole practice of natural-minded wellness and understanding and balancing. I am actively homeschooling our family. We're involved in our local community for homeschooling, forest, natural schooling. I'm also involved in our local chapters for parental rights and homeschool rights and medical freedoms that we have to fight very hard for in the state that we live in. So being an advocate for what it means to be a mother is very critical for me, and being parents for both Luca and I with our family.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so very simply, what do we want as a parent? And if you had to ask a person, you would want them to be happy and healthy. Sounds great on paper, but how do you really apply that in real time when you are stressed out, when your children are melting down, and when they're overtired? Living daily life is gnarly. And so to have authentically happy, capable children is a huge challenge. And that's something I want to talk about today. What we're dealing with now that we see in our children is going to be things like they have really big emotions that they can't handle. They might have anxiety where they can't focus. They can't sit still. They've got challenges they don't know how to overcome. They might be extremely shy. They might be dealing with being bullied. They might be dealing with being a bully. They might be dealing with all different sorts of stresses. Now, there's a lot of factors into this, and I understand that there are those variables, but I think that there's a really, really critical role that is gone under the radar that I think can massively impact a lot of these elements, and that really has to do with being a mother. A woman is growing a baby in her body. While that is happening, that baby is hearing her heartbeat. That baby is feeling her move. That baby is growing in a safe environment in that woman. This is not something that happens on a shelf somewhere. This is a very intimate thing that's happening. So we grow our baby. We go through the amazing work of laboring and birthing our child, now earthside. And that doesn't mean it's done. It doesn't mean that that container that woman was for that small human is now done and over with. where will you see most small babies? And that's going to be right on the mother's chest, right on that skin, right on that contact. What's happening there is that child is being felt by the mother, and there's a container that's happening. That mother is literally providing safe sanctuary comfort to that child's nervous system. Literally, we're talking about the sympathetic nervous system, fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. Those factors still exist in little tiny babies. They're with us at all times. And in those moments, that infant, that newborn, is being regulated and realizing it's safe as it's transitioning to being earthside. And that continues on all throughout their growth. We women are wired emotional. We're wired intuitive. Curt, you said yourself that you don't know how to read a room. You're asking somebody to tell you, well, I don't know how that person felt. And that person's telling you, well, that person's irritated, but they're dealing with something. They're not irritated with you. Their person's feeling frustrated. That person feels like they haven't been heard by you. We women have these emotions. We women have these intuitiveness that we read our children. We can tell when our child is overtired, frustrated, confused. We're wired to receive those things. And honestly, that really helps us develop something that I'm really thinking is actually the superpower of being a mother. And this is the thing that I want to talk about.
You're tearing your hair out?
No, this is what I want to talk about. Well, here's the thing. When you're in a situation that could be a superpower, but you don't recognize it, that's when you want to tear your hair out. Because you feel disempowered. You yourself as a mom are completely overwhelmed. We don't have understanding of our nervous system. Like, this is new things people are just starting to put together, these pieces. So here we are, parents. We did not have any self-regulation of our fight, flight, freeze states, our anxiety, our fawn states. None of those things are tools that we were ever developed as a child. And here we are thrown into adulthood and now parenting and trying to help our children regulate those things while we ourselves haven't yet faced those. And so that's when we want to pull our hair out. So I want you guys to listen to this. Kids do not make us yell. Kids reveal to us where we have room to grow, where we have wounds that we need to heal, and where we have unresolved rage from our own childhood. And it's intense and it's deep, but it comes down to, as a parent, you are now taking that responsibility for yourself and for your child. And for taking that self-responsibility means you need to do the work. You need to look and see where you need room to grow. You need to look at what are your wounds that you need to heal. You need to look at where you have unresolved rage that you haven't processed yet. I'm going to give you guys an example. One of our daughters she loves to play by herself. So she's using her imagination and building with blocks and is very happy to play independently. Then another daughter can come into the room and she'll just insert herself and disrupt what the other daughter is doing. And a few times I would see this and it immediately triggered this very livid reaction in me. Like, what are you doing? Get out of her space. Just go find your own thing and just go play. And it was a flash. It was not me doing a conscious effort. It just was a flash of a response. But here's the thing. My daughter, the one who came in and disrupted things, she was feeling insecure. She was feeling insecure that she might miss something really fun that her other sister was playing. For me, I moved around a lot as a child. And I felt very insecure. And I wanted to not miss out on the fun. So I was triggered by my daughter's reaction of her insecurity. But authentically, I should pause and I should do my work and recognize where I was feeling insecure. And then I can acknowledge with my daughter where she was feeling and help her navigate that feeling as well. Big emotions from us when we're angry will rob our children of a safe place to have their big emotions. If we can stay calm and empathize, they learn that their feelings are normal and that we can handle them together. Our being upset can lead to our children interpreting that we are unable to cope with upset feelings. And over time, they will stop showing us how they feel and even stop recognizing their own feelings.
That's right.
And it will leave them to wreak havoc and struggle with extreme behaviors. Learning how to understand and navigate our children's big upsets is not something that we as parents inherently know. Most of us may not have been able to know our own feelings. And then as our children come to us with their big feelings, for us to feel calm and empathize with them can feel very foreign. A large part for me being a connected mom and less of a control freak was learning to manage my feelings while my child or children are having their own. What this gives us is more resilience emotionally and mentally, and it can actually calmly express the full range of emotions. And it really allows for a deeper connection between the parent and child. I definitely have said a lot. And some key elements, if you're looking to either understand this or explore it for yourself personally, explore it for your children, is really looking into researching the nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system. There's a few different kinds of somatic therapies out there. It's something that I have been practicing and studying for about seven years. Another thing, I don't know, I have so many notes on here. The nervous system, when it's triggered into fight or flight, it isn't a conscious effort. It's this light switch that instantly flashes. So we're either in fight mode, we're either in flight mode or freeze state or fawn state. And understanding those activations. My husband Luke wrote a book called The Primal Primer. And he has some here. It's a great tool to start to understand dealing with society and understanding how to pause and deal with either anxiety or building your skill set so that you have a greater capacity of less freeze. It takes longer to go into a freeze state. It takes you longer before you go into a fight or flight state. And then once you get into those states, what are your tools that you're going to use to help you shift out of that? That's a really long talk that I could do another time. Yes, Curt.
So, since I've spent a lot of time listening because I'm incompetent, naturally incompetent, I actually have a very hard time understanding my kids' behavior. I could really, but once they could talk to me, it was no problem at all.
Right?
And that's why it's so very, very dependent upon my wife for this behavior, because she could somehow figure it out. So can you actually, like, I know a lot about sex differences in their own.
Right.
But the problem with the children is, I mean, it's at least for some of us, it's quite hard to figure out what the hell's going on.
It is. Like an example last night, one of our daughters, we asked her to go brush her teeth before bed. Completely reasonable ask, do it every day, right? Melted down, literally tantrum on the floor, had to fall off the side of the bed. Like, it was just an impossible. You would have expected her to, solve the world's biggest math problems, like something completely unreasonable to ask of her. But it was just go brush your teeth. But it wasn't anything about the brush to the teeth. What it honestly was, this was a moment. Her mom was giving her attention, and she had the opportunity to off-gas a bunch of stressful energy from the crazy day that had just happened. It was so different than what she was used to. So it had nothing to do with the toothbrush. It had mom's giving me her attention, and phew, I get to off-gas a bunch of big feelings that are super overwhelming.
So the whole point is that a lot of, whether we're children or adults, sometimes we just do this.
We do. And all of these elements, I do this. All of these responses, we all do this as humans in society.
Well, this never happens in your household.
He's not saying anything. Okay.
You know, I prompt him a lot. I try to egg him on a lot. He never, ever pulls the wife joke. The wife. He's got you. He's like, she's sacred.
He's not wrong.
So I have a amplifier, which was this is one of those things that surprised me in life. You know, my teenage daughter comes to me and says, "I think I want to sleep with my boyfriend. What do you think?" Now, first of all, I'm absolutely jaw on the floor, dropped of what? And you're talking to me about it? And then I realized, holy shit, she trusts me enough to give her the right answer, that she's okay giving, it's okay asking. I walked around after that for a couple weeks thinking, I'm the luckiest freaking dad in the world because my daughter actually trusts me. But God knows why. I mean, Jesus, you're my friends. You wonder why. But I was pretty impressed by that she would be trusting me. So it really does matter.
It does. So I'm going to give you guys an example of of something that happened with another daughter in a situation. So we were at breakfast, and she's super picky eater. So we picked out some food for her to eat, and she didn't want to touch it. And the plan was to get a donut afterwards. She was expecting that we would ignore our original request to eat her breakfast and that she would still get her donut. Well, her brother and her sister, they ate their breakfast and they got to go get their donut, but she got a no. And she just was devastated. Crocodile tears, she was heartbroken, she missed out on a donut. So what I did was, I was calm. I recognized that she had very hurt feelings and that she just needed support. So all I did is I stopped thinking of my to-do list. I stopped thinking about how absurd that response is because she knew. But in that moment, she felt so overwhelmed and missing out that I just held her and I just rocked her, and she was sad. And in that moment, there's this pause that happens. And she took a deep breath. And that is a split-second moment of the superpower of being a mother. I was present with her, and she rode the wave of her feelings, and she was contained, and she was okay. I wanted to kind of describe, because I'll say the superpower of being a mom, and that's beautiful words and sounds lovely, but really what does it mean? And
it works on husbands too. Hugs work. How many women I've talked who've told me, my husband will listen to me, it's because you're not touching him while you're talking to him. If you just walk over and sit next to him on the couch and rub against him, they'll fucking hear what you say. And it's just so obvious. You know, it's like, and they're like, wow, that really works. I'm like, you think I'm crazy, but it works. It's just so obvious. Why do you think it works with kids? What do you think we are? We're just large male pets.
You're not wrong, Curt. Okay, so a superpower is taking that overwhelming feeling and pausing. No thinking, no emoting, just pause, and creating a container that is authentically safe, that's allowing that child to feel safe while they're in the throes of that overwhelming feeling. There's a powerful moment that happens. It's safe, resilience happens, greater capacity has just bloomed for that child in that moment. That child shifts from a fight, flight, freeze state to a more safe, more calm, and more capable. They now know that the overwhelming feeling that they felt previously, they have more capacity to navigate it. And the more that this happens, the stronger that they become. And what I'm noticing as I'm practicing this with our children, they are becoming more and more resilient. And I just can't wait to see the kind of adults that they're going to grow into, because they're going to have the capacity. They're going to have so much more capacity and so much more resilience to say the no's, to use their words, to speak their truths. And I think that that is invaluable. That to me is that original answer of I want happy, healthy children.
But you have the time, take the time, and you enjoy taking the time with the children. What I seem to find, and I noticed this when I was in Germany years ago, is American families traveling, and the mother is so guilty about working, she overloads the children with choices, right? Doesn't produce enough regularity for them, and then feels guilty about everything because she's not spending enough time with them.
Right.
But it's a practical reality. We're in a world where it almost takes two incomes to survive. I mean,
it does, right. It's really interesting. One of the things that I also want to note is the amount of time that it takes to do these things. You know, to think about, I'm going to be a super parent or I'm going to be a super mom. You're like, okay, I'm stressed and life is overwhelming, but I'm going to take on this new massive role and it's going to be magical, right? And that's so much. But think about when you go to the gym, you might go to the gym for an hour and work out, but how long are you working your biceps? You might do four rounds of 10 reps. You know, it's authentic 5 to 8 minutes a day. And that alone over time will massively compound.
So mother's attention in highly valued, concentrated times, along with a schedule that allows the children to develop a habit. Those two things are pretty powerful.
Extremely powerful, but it's also understanding being present, but understanding the nervous system and what state is. If I'm in a parent, I cannot parent well in a fight, flight, freeze response. I need to make sure I'm doing my work and I can authentically parent in a calm and safe space. If I can't, I need to tag my husband in to be that role that I'm incapable of. So I need to be able to communicate to him and do that. So understanding that nervous system response and being able to being responsible for my work, because I'm modeling to my children what my work is, and so that they can grow up into that as well.
You're I'm sorry, but I happen to find what you're saying really fascinating. So if I'm asking too many questions, I apologize. But it's like what you're taking time, your mental focus. You enjoy it, first of all,
I do.
right? So then, so what happens though is if you look at the acceleration of the workforce, the pressure on women, and then you look at the social media pressure. I'm just wondering, I can step into your head, like as you're talking, for about a quarter of a second and try to understand how you see the world as feelings.
Yeah.
And it gives me, I just want to jump off a fucking bridge, right? It's horrible to me. Because the emotional burden on me would be so much I wouldn't be able to bear it. But then again, I'm not practiced in it, as women have to become practiced in it. So I'm just thinking about this, like, but we've made this world almost impossible for women to be mothers. Right. Yet, and when, we got this thing like it used to be, say, the 50s. That isn't true. Right. What happened through most of history is you had a household that would have multiple generations in it, or other women, and your work was at home with children and other women, and the men are usually off doing what we do, which is whoring and pillaging. Pillaging. Yeah. We call it hunting. So I'm just trying to get at is you're giving. I hear what you're saying, and I know it's true because I know the science of it. Or even if I can't do it, I understand it. But I mean, the practical reality is that the current state of our political economy is such that it's almost impossible. It is, to do it.
And when you have the two parents working, there's a cost of that. So if you are not present with your kids, you're paying. You have the disconnection with them. You have, if you're paying someone to either do daycare or be a nanny, or
My nanny costs $50,000 a year.
So, but you're
Who
paying.
can pay for that?
So, but you're paying for those things, but there's also that cost of the lack of the mother being in the home doing those
For
roles.
the kids.
Oh, okay.
Noah,
He said he needed a female assistant. I don't recall her.
Don't give her anything else to use.
but I think that originally, I was working full time and I felt very overwhelmed in how to work full time and do these instinctual things that I was feeling. And Luke and I had to conversation and come to the conclusion it is exponentially more valuable for me to be at home and raise our children full time, and then I can work when and how I want to. So we adjusted our life. We adjusted our finances because that role was so valuable. We couldn't do it any other way.
I loved it when my wife was home. I'm like, I don't care. Whatever you want. Nanny, right? Housekeepers, garden, whatever. I mean, but I made the money to do that.
Right.
And it's like, but we have average, look, we're like the middle of, maybe around here, but there's like a lot of working class people around here. They can't afford that shit.
Right.
It's not right.
Any other questions?
We got time for one more.
Oh, okay. All right.